What I'm doing today is not business, it's passion. Well, Normandy itineraries is a company which organizes private and customized tours, because each person basically is unique in his desire what he wants to discover into Europe, both maybe in World War II or World War I, heritage, culture and gastronomy. I had this in my blood all my life. Since I was very young, my dad always took me to museums, even cemeteries, etc. When I was 9 years old, with two of my cousins, we went all the way to Auschwitz, which I still, remember very well, clearly today. When I met my future wife in Normandy, I was introduced to the superintendent of the Normandy American Cemetery at Omaha Beach. Basically, I just asked him, "Are you going to be recruiting anyone for this year?" And he said, "Give me a call." And that's how I started. And when I was trained at the American Cemetery at Omaha, I just very slowly but surely understood, okay, this is exactly what I was looking for all my life. All these tours are basically all customized. All the places we go to today have been clearly selected. I'm pretty confident that the guests, when they go home, are very happy of what they discover, both, of course, history, World War II, heritage, culture, and gastronomy. For food, honestly, my mom is a very good cook, first of all, but I learned to cook French cuisine because when I was doing my studies in hotel business, I had to learn how to cook the typical French recipes. And I love cuisine. I'm an Epicurean myself, so I only like to eat good products. When we organized the 75th anniversary of a D-Day, we stayed in some unique castles, and I guarantee you not one tour operator or guide or whatever had this kind of approach of staying in incredible places. I mean, one of them, the Manor WWI was going back to 1068. The most important is for them to be here, to understand clearly that if they are here today, living in freedom, it's because of all these fallen, resting in different cemeteries, and it's not just one. We have so many of them in Europe. So I think they really clearly understand this, and also the fact that by learning from history, hopefully in the future, our generations are not going to make the same mistake. Freedom is a continuous battle. Democracy doesn't occur in one day, so we have to fight for it every day. It's very important that they take the time to rove around, to be inspired by what they see, even the battlefield and the cemetery, to pay homage to the fallen. So it's more like their pace, even though sometimes a bit like a drill sergeant, I have to tell them, okay, we have to get going at one point. The most important, basically, first is passion, of course, but it's to see how these Americans traveling, to Europe, realize, the fact that those youngsters who came here in World War II, they're crossing the Atlantic, they're defending a country which is not theirs, they're fighting for the freedom of the world, and being here physically and being receptive to the environment. When you go to the American cemetery like Omaha Beach or back in Cambridge, where a lot of pilots were buried, to see the emotion, coming through the guests, it's just so powerful. That's for me the how you say that in English? I forgot. The nicest, most beautiful gift I could get, and to know that also when they go back home, they're going to share it. And to share the fact that we must learn from history not to make the same mistake in the future is just so crucial. So we want to be different, and we are different actually. I much prefer to go in places where most, or actually the vast majority, never go. So what I'm trying to say is that yes, I think I have this expertise. I also have a knowledge, and I know the people with whom I need to work to make things happen in a specific area. If you go to England, for example, with Richard Bass, which is a good friend of mine, he's a specialist, for example, of the Soul Training Center. He knows exactly what happened with Operation Tiger. If I go to Berkshire Garden, I have a gentleman, his name is Henri. That guy is a specialist of the Third Reich. We go in places where even all these tour operators never go, in underground tunnels, dug by the Nazis that no one knows of, even the local people. So we always try to be unique and different. We want to think different. For example, Brico Manor, I do know very well, Band of Brothers series, Easy Company. I know the whole story. I've been so many times there with Charles. I much prefer that he talks about the story because it's his story of his father, etc. So I think it makes a very interesting connection for the guests when they're actually in contact with a person who actually, either witnessed what happened or the story was told from his father to himself, for future generations. We went, for example, to Mortain. No one goes there. When we did the closing of the gap of Chambois-Falaise with Stéphane, the curator of the Museum Montormel, most guests in the bus were not even aware of that battle. So that's the kind of things that we want to put in place. Either you do the Disney tour, where basically, okay, yeah, they're going to take you, let's say, American Cemetery checklist, Point du Hoc checklist, etc. But you won't go into depth. You won't have the knowledge of someone local. And I'm the only guide, actually, in Normandy, who was trained in the American Cemetery, Point du Hoc, and Utah Beach. Just for that, I would say it's pretty interesting. It's very important for future generations to understand exactly what our predecessors accomplished and that their sacrifice is not in vain. When the guests are leaving, going back to the United States, and I guarantee you, from the moment I touch, like we say in France, touch wood, none of them were ever disappointed. For me, the end result is that I know when they go back home that what happened in the past is something well anchored for them. They understand, okay, we live in the present. The United States is a democracy, like in France, but we have to think of the future, and to be able to think of the future, we must not forget what happened in the past.